Don't take those rock and roll shoes off. No way. Keep those saddle shoes on. I'm sure we're going to rock around the malt shop floor as the night rolls on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the evening here, and I promised you. And we have this gentleman on the phone. I'm even a little bit nervous. Even 45 years of doing this and introducing a lot of stars over the years, but one in particular I have never ever talked to, never introduced this man anywhere, and I am very humbled and I am very honored to have Mr. Mel Carter on our show. And welcome to our show, Mel.
Well, thank you, Ned. And may I say Happy New Year to everybody, and I trust that they're open to receive all the good stuff that's going to be happening with them this year.
I think 2015 is really going to be a good year as far as the government's concerned. Everything is looking better. People have a better attitude, and I think that's what's going to make and take this country back to where it has been.
That's a good thing.
All right, Mel, as we go back in time, when did you say to yourself, hey, I'm going to be a singer?
You know what? I don't really ever think I said that to myself, because I've been doing this since I'm like 6 years old. So it was a part of my life, you know, to be that. I mean, you know, I was blessed to have that kind of a voice when I was a kid. And so it was destined for me to be a singer, period.
So you
Did I get serious about it? I think maybe my first record when it was hit, and that was in Cincinnati on the R1 Records called I'm Coming Home.
And at that point, how old were you?
I was 16 years old.
Okay, and you heard this record on the radio for the first time. What did it feel like?
Well, my buddies and I used to, you know, ride around, and when we heard the record, we would stop and open the doors and get out and dance.
Would you really?
Yes, everybody would blow the horn, blah, 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 and say, no, we got to hear the rest of the record. And then get back in the car and drive until we heard it on another station or something like that.
My question to you is, back then, what did your parents and your, I don't know if you had any siblings at that time, but what did your parents think of your seriousness about becoming a singer and doing it?
Well, you know how parents are. They always want you to have a substantial job, you know what I mean? I was going to be an accountant. I was good with numbers in school. And aside from being somewhat athletic, but they wanted me to pursue another substantial job and not, you know, singing was just, okay, you've done it. You're doing it since you're a kid. I learned early on, though, is that, you know, like in those days when the families were around and they would give the kids little nickels and dimes.
Right.
Okay, I learned that if I sang, I got quarters and 50 cents. So I was enterprising then.
You were the entrepreneur already at that particular age. Well,
Tried to be.
When you first started singing, say at the age of 6, was there a role model? Was there somebody that you looked up to and said, my God, what a voice he has, and I hope to have that voice as well?
I don't think so. I think the fact that I sang, and they called on me to sing all the time. So I didn't have anybody, I didn't start having people that I really had any kind of effect on me, I think, until I maybe was 9 years old. And then I started doing winning the contest that they had around in Cincinnati. And the other people that were performing there, I think the first person in the pop field that made it had a mark on me was Little Jimmy Scott, and I liked him because his voice was so high. Most of the time, I gravitated to the female because I sang in those keys. I sang high tenor.
Okay. The other thing, what was it like in high school? when all your friends found out that you had a record on the radio, how were you treated at that point? Because I hear from a lot of other stars that, you know, they thought that, well, maybe, geez, you know, he's a little bit up for us, and you know, do you know what I'm talking about?
I know. I think I know what you're talking about. But you know, my friends in high school, the people that I was friendly with, thought nothing of it, because it's a whole long story. Everybody that I knew were music. We used to stand on the corner. The Otis Williams and the Charms are from Cincinnati. The Students are from Cincinnati, and these guys were, you know, at nighttime stood out on the corner and harmonized. So everybody that I knew was in that thing, you know. So it was a part of life for me, for them, for everybody.
Did you ever, when you saw these people on the street corner, did you ever like harmonize with them? Did you ever go sing with them?
I did do some harmonizing with Otis Williams and the Charms. And I also grew up singing gospel. So the gospel music was very prevalent, and we, you know, in church all the time. See?
So you did sing a lot in church as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The other questions were, as you grew up and times started changing, did your music start to change?
The music, yes, at the various labels that I was on, they were. Let me go back. In those days, okay, when you were on a label, because I sang with perfect diction and everything like that, in those days, you had to go through the R&B department, the black department, in order to cross over to be pop. So they wouldn't put my pictures on the album covers, okay? Because when stations first started playing the hits, they thought that I was a white artist.
I can understand that. I spoke one time with Lloyd Price, and he had said the same thing as well. Did that discourage you at any time and point?
No, it didn't discourage me, because I was young, and things were happening, and hearing the radio, hearing the music on the radio, and being doing shows where you got paid, opposed to doing shows where you got nothing, and selling of the records. Everything was going, and it was moving very, very fast. And for somebody that was young as I was, it just felt so good. You know, I didn't get caught up into the way things were. That was the way things were.
I totally understand what you're saying there as well.
There's a title for a song there, right?
Yes, there is. When a boy falls in love, that was really, I think that was what, 1962 or 63?
63.
63 when that came out. Was really one of your first big hits?
That was the first national hit. I had some hits before that. I had I Need You So under Quincy Jones' direction in 1957. I had a record. And then we had I'm Coming Home, which was in 59. That was on Doris Day's label. But the first national hit, the first big hit that broke through the English invasion was When a Boy Falls in Love. Let me tell you something else about that song. It was the first record that was released from a black-owned company that crossed over into the pop market. And that was from Derby Records, which was that label, it was Sam Cooke's label. And Derby was the pop label, and it was created for that song, When a Boy Falls in Love. And that was that's the history behind it.
And that was the very first song from that particular label?
From Derby Records. Yeah.
Right, okay.
That was the crossover record.
What did you feel like then, when this became a national hit?
To be on stage with the Herman's Hermits and all of the English acts that were coming through, and knowing that my record had broken through the English, I mean, that was quite. It was quite a big feeling for me on the inside.
And really quite a big feat as well, just to do that. You know.
And I was Sam Cooke's protege, and Sam was like, wow,
Well, if he was impressed, I guess, it was a wow factor, that's for sure.
Uh-huh.
Out of all the places that you performed all over the world, where is one of your most favorite places?
Well, I think the most impressive place for me was in London at the Albert Hall. The most fun place that I was doing in New York at the Americana. That was the most fun place for me.
And why do you say it was fun? Was it just the crowd, the people?
No, it was because I had come to New York and played a venue that Sam had come to New York, and when he first went to New York, he couldn't crash into that field, and that's where he wanted to crash into the nightclub and stop doing all of the other venues that he was doing. And I did it. So that made me feel really, really good. And Americana, that was the cream of places to play in New York at that particular time. The only other places out here was the Coconut Grove, when I played the Coconut Grove. And the only other black artist who had been there was Sammy Davis and the Supremes. I mean, like a record artist.
Who were some of the real people that you had to work with that really, really came close to your heart?
Dionne Warwick, the Supremes in the early days. Wow, I'm trying to think.
Of course, Lenny Welsh.
Yeah, Lenny came later on. We've been friends for quite a number of years, but he came later on. I was kind of getting people from the early days.
From the early days. Did you ever work with a Lloyd Price?
No, I've never worked with him. I'm going to be working with him on the 24th in Philadelphia. That's next week. And that will be the first time that we've worked together. We've talked, and early on in my career, I recorded Personality, one of his hits.
One of his big hits as well.
Yeah.
Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, of course, is your signature song, your million seller, your gold record. How did that all come about?
At the Liberty, but it wasn't. It was at Liberty Records. That was the Imperial. And the A&R people suggested that I do that song. I hated the song.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. I had to, I fancied myself as being a jazz singer before that, but when I did Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, I had to sing and be directed in the booth. I had to sing on the beat, but with the choir. And I just hated that. I hated it.
Wow.
Passion. but little did I know.
Wow. Out of all the songs that you have sung throughout your career, that you have been on stage, that you have been anywhere, what is one of your most favorite songs you love to sing?
One, I can say one. One of the is a song that I did called "The Other Woman," and I have to tell you a story about that. We were in Dallas, and I was one of the first black performers who have ever appeared at this club. And at ringside, there was a couple that came and they sat, and the lady sat with her back toward me. And in The Other Woman, it says, the other woman will never have his love to keep. The other woman will always cry herself to sleep. And as the years go by, the other woman will spend her lonely nights alone. And at the end of that song, she turned around, and there were tears coming from her eyes. And the audience, because the audience was focused on me, but they were focused on her as well. And when they did, everybody just stood up and applauded, you know, because there was, at that particular point, that meant there was an acceptance, you know.
Wow. Fabulous story. Stuff like that is what I guess really makes it worthwhile.
They're memories, and each time you talk about it, you can revisit that moment and feel that emotion that was carried on. There are many, many, many things that has happened to me in my career with myself and audiences that are memorable for me, and I don't see myself ever stopping doing this.
We certainly hope you don't ever stop doing it. You do like to do a lot of with your audiences. You like to talk to them throughout your show, things like that. Does that, in a way, is that part of your what you do now, is to talk more with the audience? Do they ask you questions, things like that?
No, not in terms of being, you know, like vocal or something like that, but and not in terms of being more. It's just that the audience is the other element, and it's a challenge to bring them into what you're doing. So therefore, I laugh, I get tickled a lot, and the dramatics. That if I can do what I do and it moves you, that's an inspiration to me. So it makes me, you know, like have the dialogue and, you know, like pinpoint who and what is in the audience that I can focus in on it.
Very interesting. I'm going back to Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, and what you said, you really hated the song. What happened to your mindset once it became in the top 10 in Billboard, once it started selling?
Well, needless to say, I love it.
I would say so too. Yes, I would say so too. But what was going through your mind at the time when all of a sudden, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me took off like wildfire?
Well, for one thing, I couldn't believe it because it was that whole session that we did then. It was prior to Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, had a song called The Richest Man Alive, which was bubbling under on the charts. And then when we did Hold Me, and that whole session with I've forgotten the rest of the songs that we did, Take Good Care of Her, and all of those were on that session.
I will tell you that Take Good Care of Her, believe this or not. Now, I love Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me. I love, you know, When a Boy Falls in Love. But I truly, truly love that song, Take Good Care of Her. And I'm going to be playing that once we are done. And I'm going to show the people, not only show it, but they can hear. It is such a beautiful song. And you really, really, it seems like you really are very passionate about that song.
Well, it was a country song. At first, I've forgotten who done, because all the songs that I was recording then had been hits like 10, 12 years before I did it, and they used to call me at the label, Bring 'Em Back Alive Kid. So all of those songs like Love Is All We Need, You, and everything had been done early on, and then but when you bring something in like Take Good Care of Her or You, or something like, I'm just saying, like, well, what is this that they're giving me these kind of songs? But I would never give less than what I could do. I was always there, totally in the studio, giving all that I could give to the song, and I'm very close to wanting to tell a story in a song. I think lyrics are most important, and if you can tell that story and make it a visual aspect when you're telling it, or when you're singing it, that's what I'm moved to do.
And it shows. That PBS special, of course, everybody probably has seen that special, and you doing that particular song, Hold Me, Thrill Me, and it looked so passionate, the way you were singing it. 1,000% was put out on that song. And you're really, really, and I keep going back to that segment and watching that, because...
Four of those.
Pardon?
I think we've done 4 of them, and I think I'm the only, at least when I did it, I was the only person who had ever done a tribute to other singers with the songs that on one of the shows that I did, and that was a Billy Williams, and I can't think of the other guys.
A little bit earlier, before we got on with our interview, I played Crying in the Chapel by Sonny Till and the Orioles, but your version of it, absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Sonny Till and the Orioles were a big when I was growing up. I loved them. I loved him.
He had such an astounding voice that he had.
Right.
It set apart him from all the others. He just had that unmistakable voice, and his music had such meaning behind it, and you singing that particular song, Crying in the Chapel, really, really is superb. You have a new CD out now, don't you?
I have a new CD called The Other Standards.
Let's talk about that now. Since we went through all your musical career and now up to the present, what are some of the songs on that particular CD? And we'll also try to tell the people where they can purchase it as well.
Some of the songs on there are Goody Goody.
Frankie Lyman.
Right, and Crying in the Chapel is on there. Wow, I should have been ready with this.
I do ask questions out of the norm that aren't too normal with a lot of things, but
I can't tell you that all of the songs on here are standards, but they aren't the normal standards that the Gershwins, the Arlens, all of those kind of people. Because early on, I did all of those songs on albums, but if I gave you, like people say, Goody Goody, Goody Goody is a standard, but you don't know that it's not in that same genre with the other music, with the Harold Arlens or the Gershwin tunes. So that's why I did called it The Other Standards.
I like your yellow socks on that album cover as well.
Huh?
I like your yellow socks on the album cover.
Thank you. Let me. Can I give you a quick story about socks?
Please do.
Okay. I've been wearing colorful kind of socks for a number of years, even before it got popular. And the reason why is that when I used to go on, I'm an actor as well, when I used to go on calls, there was this lady, the casting director, who always kept her head down, you know, when you came in to read for her. And so I was trying to figure out, she never looked at, well, she looked at pictures, never saw the faces. But when I started wearing colorful socks for when to go in, and she would remember the colors of the socks that I had on. So that kind of like gave me a one-up on all the other actors who went in, you know, to read for that.
That is what you call good marketing.
Yeah, I guess so.
Let's talk about your acting career.
Yeah.
Let us go back to when you first were you in many movies, or was it more like Broadway type plays?
No, I've been. I've knock on wood. I've done commercials. I've done film. I've done theater. I've done just about everything that, you know, in the show business genre that there is to do. The film and the TV. I've even done. I was on a soap. I was on a soap for like 2 years. I played Cruz's a partner on. Why can't I remember that?
Well, I know all the women, I'm sure, will remember it.
Well, Cruz. I know that was his name. I know the time that came on in the afternoon on CBS, but
maybe it was turning.
Actually, and I can tell you that we're on. I've done. I was guest on a lot of those things, but that one I was on there for 2 years, and.
Well, how was that working on a soap? I mean, did you have many lines? I mean, did you do any ad-libbing?
No, you couldn't. You had to be fast because they would bring you the white page, you know, the sit down, read, then the yellow pages, then the green pages, and you know, like they would shoot the first, second, third, and you had to really be studying, you know, by the time the final thing on. And that's the thing about doing theater is that gets you set for live TV when you're doing a soap like that, because in theater you do they bring you constant pages and refining the script before, you know, even after you go in. That's why they have tryouts out of town, you know, to do the rewrites before you come back in and you put it on Broadway. But that's the training that you get for when you go on to do a soap, because you have to be a quick steady. You know?
That must have been exciting.
I think this whole business is exciting. You know, no matter, it's still exciting to me. I can say that I have met and worked with people that when I was a kid, I used to get whippings because I went to the movies and stayed from 10 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Yes. All over and over and over. My mother would give me, you know, like 50 cents in those days. I mean, you could buy
the world.
Right. You could buy, the hot dogs were 12 cents, right? You buy popcorn. The popcorn was like a dime. You could buy soda. You could have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner right there in the theater.
Well, you're telling us how old we are, Mel. But as far as any move,
the other thing about that, when we talk about things that we did, you know, in our age, but it was a fun time, wasn't it? Because the kids they don't know what they're missing. I don't think.
Exactly. Now, let me ask you this, and I ask a lot of the people that I interview this. When you do your concerts, do you see a resurgence in the younger people coming to see like you, or to the music or whatever?
Well, I think, for me, I've always had as well as the older audience, I've had the younger audience too. Because what I believe that if you can deliver on stage, I'm not talking about all of the smoke and glitter. I'm talking about really deliver on stage, that the people appreciate that. They appreciate it, and it's a wonderment for them, I think.
I have to agree with you there, because the new singers, and I have nothing against the new singers at all, but there's so much electronics that help them.
Yeah.
Versus,
I like a few of the new people, but I have seen Ella Fitzgerald be on stage with Joe Pass, the two of them, and murdered an audience.
oh, I can believe that.
Killed them. I've seen Sarah Vaughan. I've seen Dinah Washington. I've seen Nancy Wilson. I've seen Johnny Mathis. I've seen Tony Bennett. I've seen some of the greats in this business that come out and blow you away. And I'm sorry that I just said those names and not say all the names that I've been a part, to see and be a part of. But I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. So now, I don't think you need, if you got a great band behind you, and I always say this: if you got a great band that's kicking your butt, they make you sing. They make you deliver, and that transfers to that audience.
Here's a question I have never asked anybody, and since you brought it up, of course, with the duets and things, is there anybody of today's singers that you would just love to do a duet with?
Oh God, there's several different. I'd like to do. I always wanted to. I'm a big fan of Harry Connick Jr. I think I'd like to sing with Bruno Mars. It's amazing, just the way you are. I love that.
I see here that you did do one with a gal by the name of Sandy Patty.
I duet with Sandy Patty. I did a duet with Frida Payne, Christmas song. I did a duet with, early on I did a duet with Martha Reeves.
Oh, wow.
And I've done, I can't remember the other. There has to be something else. That's three. And now I can't go on and not remember anything else.
Well, one of the most oddest couple, I would assume, over especially in the last year or so, Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga.
Yeah, isn't that great?
But boy, did they put some songs together, though. Whew.
Yes. Yeah.
Boy, you talk about ripping the heart out of your chest. People, they have this wrong image about a lot of the younger singers, especially Lady Gaga. And you got to understand that's a shtick that she does. I mean,
right. But if you listen to her early on in all those, you can hear her voice. You can hear the voice coming through. Through all that stuff that she does, you could hear. She could sing.
Yes, she could.
And sing.
Yes, she could. I think you two would make an excellent duet together.
Well, I'm here. And the thing about what I'm also proud about, and that God has given me a gift, and He's allowed me to keep it. I still sing in 90%, almost in the same keys.
Well, to do that, especially over your lifetime that you have done music, Yeah, that is a pretty darn good gift from him, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think every day when I wake up, and go to sleep, I'm thankful. I'm truly thankful. I'm thankful for my mother, who kept me grounded, really, really grounded. My mother was a very special person. And I remember when I first had When a Boy Falls in Love, we lived in Hollywood, and it was early, and the garbage people were coming around. My mother said, "You get up and take the garbage out." And I said, "Oh, Mom, I can't do." She said, "You better take that garbage out." So I went out, and the guys on the truck said, "Mel, you have to take the garbage out. You got to, you know."
A hit record, huh?
My mother was just, and not only that, and you talk about the new thing, I have a new DVD called The Classic Mel Carter, Vintage Mel Carter, and there are performances from 75 to, they span over a 10-year period, and on that DVD, there is a 15-minute segment of myself and my mom singing gospel doing a gospel concert at a small church here in over in Pasadena.
Wow.
One of the songs is on YouTube. God Will Take Care of You.
Yes, I did see that.
From that, the other thing from that is Over the Rainbow.
Fabulous song.
Yeah.
I've never heard a bad version of it. Here's a question I have for you. Out of all these songs that we have talked about, this particular song, when I saw it, I heard it, I said, what a fabulous tribute to the men and women that gave it all in the service. I take care of my uncle who was in World War II. There are so many other people that have, that have been in every war. And you sang the song called Taps.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it, and why did you record it?
I thought the story behind the lyrics of the song and should be sung and told, and it was my tribute to all of the men and women in the Air Force then, now, and forever. And I just thought that I wanted to leave that mark.
I am definitely going to play that tonight because a song like that you don't hear on the radio, you don't hear on television, but I think the people need to hear that. Mm-hmm. And it's only I think a minute and a half or so. It's not a long song.
No, we shot it in the studio, no makeup, just low lighting, and tried to create an atmosphere where you could really listen to the story.
And you have done that quite well, let me tell you. If that song doesn't raise the hair on the back of your neck, I just don't know what else can. I really don't. And I'm definitely going to play that song. So you're coming to Philadelphia next week.
Yes.
And that's a Saturday night.
Saturday night at Kimmel.
At the Kimmel Theater of Arts there. A lot of great shows there. They put on some fabulous shows. We wish you well. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us here tonight. People ask me, they say, Ned, you've been in the business 45 years. You've done a lot. And, out of all of the people that have made me nervous about an interview, I must say you go high on the list.
Oh, man.
But, it's something, and I don't prepare anything. A lot of people say, do you have everything prepared? No, I don't. I don't even come in with the questions. As we roll along is what I like to talk about. And that...
I think it's nice like that because it's spontaneous, and even though, at this point in time you may forget, I may forget certain things, but, it's real. It's real. It's right there. It's give, and that's what we do as an actor. If another actor is giving you, it makes you want to give more. So that makes the scene move the way it's supposed to be. And there's this passion. It's passion, and I can feel your passion about what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I have tried that. I'm going to tell you a little story here, a little quick story. A radio personality that spoke to me back in 1969 and said to me, he said, I'm going to tell you something, kid, and that's what he called me. I'm going to tell you something, kid. He says, be very humble with the stars you will ever interview. Be humble with the people, your listeners, or your fans, because those are the people that will either make you or they will break you. Very, very, very a true thing that I have stuck to all my life in this career. And all the times I think about what he had said to me, and it's true.
Yeah.
He knew what he was talking about. He's no longer with us. Joe Niagara, he was a big radio personality in Philadelphia. And, I never, ever forgot those words. As much as I forget other things in this business, that is one thing I never forgot.
Okay. And I was thinking, too, Cry Me a River is one of the songs
on your new album.
I always say, when somebody asks me something and I said I don't remember, I said, don't worry, the Rolodex is going around. It just passed that. It'll come back around again.
Exactly. As you speak more, it finally does come back up to that, first R, G, or B, or whatever it is.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure thing.
There, Sonny Till and the Orioles did Does She Love Is Too Soon to Know? And I did that on the album just before the other standards, an album called The Heart and Soul of Mel Carter. And the writer, I can't think of her name, she lives in Florida, and she called me, and she said that Sonny Till and the Orioles, she thought there could never be a record that could meet that, with him doing her song. And she said she thanked me because I matched and maybe went over his. And I said, oh, wow, don't say that, But that and the guy, Cry Me a River, called me. And, it makes me feel good that my interpretation of the music, I don't ever try to do it like somebody else. I try to bring what I can bring to the song, and as much as I have lived, that's what I try to put into that lyric and make it be alive.
There's another radio personality that does listen to me, believe this or not, and he's of the younger generation, but he just reminded me here, his name is Manic One. Well, you can understand what kind of music he plays, but he just said, does Santa Barbara come click into your mind?
Barbara, that's thank you. See, we have somebody out there. That's where I played Cruz's partner.
Right.
I played it 2 years.
Santa Barbara. There you go.
Santa Barbara. Yeah.
Now that brought back the Rolodex to S.
There you are.
I got another question for you here.
Okay.
Throughout your career, now you talk about, we forget things and stuff. Did you ever forget any lyrics in any songs while you were on stage?
Oh, sure, but you know what? The thing about being a professional, it doesn't blow your mind when you don't remember things. It's like I have the ability of like to make up words until you get back to the ones you remember, you know. And I've done that a few times, and I've had the audience, or you know, like people from the audience after the show said, you know, you didn't say the right words on that song, you know.
Well, you know, sometimes, yes, and especially being in the audience, I was, a little story here, I was at an Andy Williams Christmas concert not far from where I live here, and he forgot the words, but like you, he not only made up a couple words, but his daughter that was singing with him saw it, and she kind of kicked in. And you would have never ever thought, you know, that Andy Williams, Mr. Christmas, would forget. I think it was Oh Holy Night, if I can remember back. But yes, people do forget, and I forget, you know, a lot of things as well, and sometimes it really discourages me here, especially if we're talking about back in the day. I can remember the very first song I ever played on the radio. But people ask me, you know, how can you remember that very first song?
Wow.
Because it started my career.
Yeah.
And there are just some things you never forget.
I can remember the first song that I sang, that I had there was, you know, in the penny arcades, sure, you know.
Oh, yeah.
They used to have direct disc recording. And there was I did a song called Me and the Devil. We had a tussle, and you know I won. I was naming that song. Me and the Devil, we had a tussle, you know I won. Me and the Devil, we had a tussle. I hate the devil. I hope he hates me. Me and the devil, Lord, we had a tussle. You know I won. I was 6 years old.
You were 6 years old, but you still remember that.
Yes.
That's a song that you'll never forget. You should have recorded it.
I did. We recorded it then on that disc around here somewhere, but it's probably all. That's when you recorded direct on the paper, you know, on the
right.
Yeah.
What did it feel like to get your gold record?
It always feels great to get gold records, you know. It's even better if they move up to platinum, and I'm sure that some of the things that I've recorded early on have reached that part, but they aren't, you know, like certified now. But the thing about it is that, you know what the great thing about the internet and the business the way it is now, that people from all over the world hear those music and they download. That's a big download for them.
Right, it is. Well, Mr. Carter, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to interview you and talk with you and chat with you. I think our listeners gained a lot from what you had said, and of course your music was always there. And to hear you personally talk about back in the day, talk about the devil, you know, tussled with you, but you won, to Sonny Till and the Orioles and your music of today. You know, for me, it's quite inspiring. We recorded this, we are still recording this, and that will go into an archive that I will be putting on a page, and for people to listen to, and hopefully forever.
Can I get a copy?
Yes, you will. I will definitely send you a copy. I will contact you, you know, give me your address, and I will be more than happy to send a hard copy to you. The other thing about all your music, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, and that song has helped the second half of the baby boomers.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's one of the most recognizable songs with that string sweep that opens the record. It's one of the most recognizable openings. And what I'm told, it's number 88 on the all-time popular records. I've seen charts where it was, like 88. Okay.
And you know what gets me, Mel? You hated that song.
Oh,
I'll never forget that.
being honest? I'm being honest.
I know you are.
I did. I thought I was so cool. I thought I was a Miles Davis fan. Still was. That's one of the things. I got to work with him once, too.
Wow.
You know?
Boy, I'll tell you what, you have that ageless voice, the ageless looks, and the ageless song. That's really hard to have all those three wrapped up in one person.
Well, you know what? I feel like... What?
Well...
It reminds me one thing of what we were talking about forgetting, that we were doing a stage production, and there was this girl that was supposed to come out and give a line that we could proceed with the scene. And she came out and she stood there, and when it's silence on stage, it seems like eternity. And she said, well, I just don't have anything to say to anybody here. And she boy, we were like scrambling, trying to reach, like move up the scene and try to do the next thing. But what I'm saying is, in closing, well, I just have everything to say to all of you. The best of.
Mel, we wish you the best.
Was that corny or what?
No, it wasn't corny. You know what was corny? The one time do you know Margaret Williams of the Cookies that sang Chains?
Yeah.
I was introducing her at a show only a couple years ago, and I got wrapped up into so much of what her songs were and everything before I brought them out. I almost forgot her name. I had to look over there, and I had to sit for about 10 seconds of silence. And she's looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and I'm, okay, like you said, this Rolodex got to stop at M. I know it's Margaret. But, stuff happens, and I'm being very honest, it happens, and that's just the way it is.
Sure it does. Like I said, it'll come back around. And a lot of times it comes back around when you sleep at night and you wake up and there it is.
You probably will tonight. Geez, I wish I would have told Ned the other songs on that Standards album. That's okay.
They can always go to, they can always come to my site and see, www.mel-carter.com, or they can go to CD Baby, they can go to Spoofy, they can go to any of the distributing out there in the space and get all of these things on that's on those albums, or you go on YouTube and you can see a numerous amount of cuts that I've done.
And they'll see your yellow socks.
Huh?
And they will see your socks. What a marketing invention that was, Mel, I tell you. Oh, my goodness. Well, again, thank you very much for this interview. I certainly appreciate it. I hope our viewers and our listeners, and I am sure they enjoyed it as much as we all did.
I've enjoyed being here.
You are quite the gentleman. You are just total. Your whole career has just been astounding. We want to wish you well. God has blessed you with a voice, that nobody else can copy.
And I'm thankful for him.
And I just wish you all the best, Mel, and I certainly do appreciate you taking the time out here tonight. I know it's, I hope I didn't disturb you from your supper out there in California.
No, but I want to thank you, and I want to thank all of your fans and all of the people who are listening or viewing all over, because without you, there is no me.
Quite true. That is very true. But, your songs and your ageless looks, boy, I'll tell you, Well, I don't know what your secret is, but maybe we'll talk about that another day.
I keep painting Dorian Gray in the closet.
All right, Mel. Well, thank you very much, and I certainly appreciate it. God bless you. I wish you nothing but great health, and be safe now and forever.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And you take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There it is, my friends.